welcome back to Unleash and Rise. Marquisha's on vacation right now, and we have Fairlen Browning here, a phenomenal woman with a powerful story. And trust me, you want to hear this story. You want to tune in to part 1 and part 2 of this, as well as order her book, On the Wings of Grace. This book is life-changing. When I started reading this book, I kid you not, no lies told, I finished it in one setting. Took me about 3 hours. I had some breaks in there, read some other things, but listen.
3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours.
Oh,
I took a break to go and get me a piece of cake because it was good. This book needed to be a movie.
But you read it faster than I did.
I couldn't put it down. I had to see what happened next. Listen.
Praise God.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Thank you.
Fairlen, introduce yourself to our audience.
So, again, my name is Fairlen Browning. I am a pastor, mom, wife, all the things, mortgage lender here in the Clarksville area. So On the Wings of Grace was, or still is, my story, testimony of a fragment of my life. So,
okay, and we're here to talk about that today.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for sharing this story with everybody.
Yeah.
Because I know people will be healed.
Thank you.
Like, people will be set free. And so, again, you realize I'm an investigator. So I went on Amazon, I went back to leave a review, and there was this one guy. I was like, oh my gosh, a guy at that, and don't look like us.
Right.
And his review was amazing. I'm like, so this book is already touching people everywhere. So I highly recommend this book. If you're dealing with loss of any type and you need redemption, this is a book for you. You're hopeless, this is a book. And what I like about it is raw.
Yeah.
It's real, right?
Yeah.
And so anything that's raw and real, in my opinion, it sets people free. Because the truth is what heals, not lies and not manipulation.
Yeah. And I believe that. I think one of the things, it was for me when we were writing On the Wings of Grace, it was important for me to authentically tell my story. As scary as that was, because I understood that there was a portion of my life, there was a portion of my story that many probably would not know. There is fruit, but then there are roots.
Right.
And the roots of my story it was important for me to allow people into that space so that they would understand where the fruit came from. And I think that a lot of times when it comes to true healing, true deliverance, anything of that nature, we often are picking fruit.
Right.
And we never get to the root. And then we wonder why there are cycles that continue to happen. And I believe it's because we never kind of get to that root. And if you don't investigate or get to, like, how did you get to this place?
Right.
How did we get to the place of this blow up or this particular issue? I don't think you ever properly heal. And so it took a long time for me to write On the Wings of Grace.
Wow.
A long time. But that time was me really getting to the root. And really, for me, one of the biggest marks of deliverance for me was being delivered from the opinion of people.
That's good.
And when I was delivered from the opinions of others, there was the freedom of telling my story raw and uncut.
Right.
Because I understood that the opinions of them would not, it really didn't matter.
Right. So talking about the root of things, right? The root of why we do the things we do.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes people, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like you said, that's a hard thing to do, to look yourself in the mirror and say, I am this way because this happened to me.
Right.
So in your book, you hit home when you said that you went back to your childhood.
Yeah.
Can you share that moment with us?
Sure. So there were a couple of things. One thing I realized when trying to go back to my childhood was the lack of memory I had from my childhood. Like most people could maybe go back to the 5-year-old me, the 6-year-old me. I didn't have a lot of memories of that younger version of myself. And investigating and trying to figure, why don't I remember? I don't remember stuff like
Birthday
that.
parties or nothing?
No.
Wow.
No. But it was really a trauma response. And being in therapy and understanding was I had conditioned myself not to go back to those spaces in my mind because it had so much pain associated with it. It dealt with things that I didn't want to deal with. And so for me, it was going back to understanding, why do I think the way that I think? Why do I look at a certain situation and I perceive it in this manner?
Yeah.
Why do I look at a situation and my first thought process is always of avoidance and not of like confronting it? Why do I feel confrontation is negative? Why is there such a negative connotation about confrontation?
Yeah.
Because I felt like if I confronted, then I would be abandoned. And that dealt with certain abandonment issues that happened to me in my childhood with not having my father there. So it was a lot of soul work. It was a lot of dealing with Fairlen and what was Fairlen's thought process? What was Fairlen's, mindset? And it was tracing that back not to who did it to me, because that was irrelevant at that point. The who was irrelevant. What was relevant was the fruit of it. And so I needed to get back to where can I trace the most whole me?
Yeah.
And then start dealing with those broken areas of me. And that was in my childhood for me.
Wow. And dealing with that rejection of your father led to, did it deal with your self-esteem? Like,
oh God, yeah.
Who you are, who you was then, because now you're a whole woman, right?
Absolutely.
So even back then, just, am I worthy enough?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that there are certain marks of especially a woman who has dealt with abandonment issues from a father. Even when you think about the relationship between our Heavenly Father and us, right? It is He who confirms and affirms our identity, right? He confirms who you are. He confirms the characteristics of you. And as a woman, when you do not have that, that was not that voice of affirmation for me. That was not that voice of confirmation for me. And so certainly not having my father growing up and dealing with those issues of abandonment, you then are unsure of everything about you because there is a natural side of you that should be confirmed and affirmed by your father that is missing. So now that side that should be confirmed and affirmed, you're now trying to figure that out on your own without the proper voice. If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so you just found your identity in what? In partying, drinking, men?
I was never a big drinker, but I always desired the affection of a man because I did not have the affection of my father. And so you realize that you are I'm searching for a father figure, and you don't even realize subconsciously the relationship with the male becomes that substitute of the relationship with the father. And so you deal with, there are certain things for a woman who has not had her father. You'll see, of course, I'm in real estate. So you'll accept the fixer-up man because it's okay to have that versus being by yourself because it confirms something that you're looking for affirmation about. So yeah, so I mean, definitely.
Question. So like when people saying the fixer up and you love the challenge, pretty much. It was a challenge, right? So with that, is it because, does it make you feel like I can't be too bad because this person is?
Yeah, you feel desired.
Yeah.
And so I think growing up without a father, there is always the question of why wasn't I enough for you to stay? Like, why wasn't I enough for you to want me? Why wasn't I enough for you to be a part of my life? You know, the other kids had their dad. Father's Day rolls around. I don't have, a dad. Your sporting events, things of that nature, everybody else has dad. I don't. So you wonder, you don't, as a child, you don't rationalize that that's their lack. It automatically self-internalizes as your lack. There's something in me that makes you not want me. And so, of course, when you now have the opportunity to be desired by a male, you're okay with a little piece versus
A
no
whole
piece.
piece.
Yeah.
Right. You just want to feel in that moment.
Yeah,
I'm
you want
loved.
to feel wanted.
Yeah.
You want to feel loved.
You want that same experience that everybody around you
Sure.
is receiving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to feel wanted.
Can you take us back and share that story with everyone when you was on the bus
Yeah.
and you was ready to fight?
So I recall I grew up in a little small town in Mississippi.
Y'all, she from Mississippi like
Yes.
me.
Look, but now I told you, friend, we from two separate Mississippis, okay?
See,
I tease people all the time. I am from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi.
Yeah.
However, there are still some similarities, and we'll chat about that. But so in the small town that I was from, it was still, while it was not as segregated, there was still some very strong segregations in the town. And mainly, I always say it was separated by a railroad track. And in that railroad track, closer to the beach was like more affluent, other people, and then there was us on the other side of the track. On the other side of the track, there was mainly like 2 Baptist churches that majority of the African-American people in the town went to. So naturally, VBS was really big when we were kids.
Tell them what VBS is.
Vacation Bible School. We went to Vacation Bible School and we did BTSU.
Yes, we did.
Baptist Training Union, okay? So we did those things. So Vacation Bible School came, and naturally those 2 Baptist churches would sometimes partner to go on like field trips and stuff like that. So this one particular, I don't even know where we were going for this field trip. But
They was good field trips back in the day.
That's right. We was on that van, baby. We was going on a field trip, okay?
Right.
And so we were going on a field trip. And again, our church had combined with this other church. And we were going on this field trip, and of course, just kids on the bus, and conversations started. And there were 2 girls in the back of the van. And everybody was talking about who their daddy was. And the young lady in the back says, my daddy's name is Bobby. And at this point, I just want to talk about my daddy too.
Yeah.
Although I did not have a relationship with my daddy, I knew very well who my father was.
Yeah.
And I said, that's my daddy name too. My daddy name is Bobby. And the girl, it was 2 girls in the back. They were sisters. And they go, that ain't your daddy. Your daddy's name. I said, my daddy's name is Bobby. I was just proud to be able to say I had a daddy.
Right. I do have a daddy.
His name was. So this girl now wants to fight me because she said I'm lying on her daddy.
Yeah.
That's not her daddy. And so we, exchange words with the little chaperones, calm the little situation down. And we get back from the field trip. And we get back from the field trip, and there was a funeral that was going on in the church, which was not my home church, but their home church. There was a funeral going on there. This man comes out of the church. Either he came up or I digress. He pulled up in this white station wagon because he was going to the funeral. And when he pulled up, my sisters, who I know to be my sisters now, runs up to this man. And I knew who my father was, but I would have not been able to point him out. If we were in a line, I would know who my dad's name was, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you like what he looked like.
Yeah.
I couldn't identify him.
Yeah.
And so I remember this man coming up. He was fairly like really, really light complected, fine hair, like curly hair. And I remember this girl who was in the back running up to him and saying, Daddy, that girl, and she's pointing at me, said that you her daddy. And I remember my father like pulling her and saying, I am. That was the first recognition of who my father was. He never acknowledged me. He didn't speak to me. He got them girls, threw them in the car. And I remember sitting on the stairs waiting for my mom to get there to pick me up. And that was the first real encounter I had with my father.
And how old were you then?
I couldn't have been more than like 10 or 11.
Wow.
I was very young. But it was the first encounter I recall having with my dad. And it was the first acknowledgement that I had that I belonged to someone. Because my mom and my grandmother, they always told me who my father was. And again, we were from a very, very small town. And so I knew who he was. And I am 150% positive we probably had passed each other. There's just probably no way possible that we did not. But I would not have been able to identify who he was.
And had those girls not said that day, you wouldn't even know. I
would have never until I was probably much older.
And based off his response, he knew that you were his daughter because he said, I am.
Growing up, everybody knew who I was. I never knew who they were. I recall being in school and getting on the school bus. And I remember getting on the school bus and I could never sit anywhere outside of the first seat on the school bus. Like I would get on the bus and the bus driver would make me sit like right behind her. And she would always give me snacks. She would like always have candy for me, like always. I would get on the bus and I would like want to sit with my friends, but I could never sit with my friends. I always had to sit behind the bus driver. It wasn't until I was much older, like probably 17 or 18 years old, that I realized that was my aunt.
Wow.
It was my dad's sister.
So that was her way of bonding with you.
Who drove my school bus. And so my mom would put me on the bus. My aunt was my bus driver. They all knew who she was. I had no idea.
So there was like a big secret.
I mean, his sister played the piano at the church that I went to. I never knew that she was my aunt. I just knew that I thought were like really, really
nice people. They so nice. I'm the favorite kid, guys.
I was like, man, I always get candy. Like I always had snacks. I had no idea that they were my aunts. They were my father's sisters. But there's a huge age gap between my mom and my biological father. My mother was in high school when she got pregnant, and my father was her softball coach. So my mom and one of my older sisters were in school together. So there was like...
Say that again?
My mom and my father. My mother was in high school. Your mother
and your oldest sister?
Yeah, they went to school together. So there was a portion of the secret of me as a child. A portion of that was like in 2025, my daddy probably would have been under the jail somewhere.
Under jail. They would have beat him up and got...
Right. And so there was like, you know what I mean? So there was...
Wow.
And my father was married. There was just a lot. So I was literally... Yeah.
Oh my God. So basically, in 2025, you seen your daddy would have been in the jail, but you probably wouldn't be here.
Well, I don't know that my mom,
With society, you know how society is nowadays, get rid of your mistakes if you can.
Well, I think there was probably a push for that. My grandmother just probably wouldn't.
Okay.
I'm sure that there was conversation had about, I'm sure, because there were just too many indiscretions in my conception.
Right. I was just going to say, in your existence.
There were probably way too many indiscretions. So I'm sure.
So you just walking around just a cute little girl, just naive, realizing that you the biggest secret of the town.
Honey.
From the biggest scandal.
I really thought that I was everybody's favorite. I thought, listen, for real. Because that lady was good to me on the bus.
You thought you was just so special. I mean, not saying that you aren't.
Yeah, but
wow.
Mm-hmm.
So as that just give deeper meaning to this book that everybody needs to get. And your story, why I need to be on BT.
Yeah.
Because I almost lost for words right now. I didn't even realize that all of that took place. You have purpose.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You was destined to be here.
Yeah,
in spite of all of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had a choice, even throughout, as we continue to talk, to rise up to the occasion or fall back and be victim.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
even in that, you could be I'm a victim of not having a dad in my life, and my mom had to keep this secret. And being from Mississippi, we all understand what that's like, right? What goes on in my house stays in my house.
Absolutely.
And nobody need to know or ask questions. Hence, nobody said anything to you or asked questions. Had your sisters not said what they said, you would have even known what he looked like at that point.
I would have never, because my grandmother had such a disdain for my father that all I ever heard about my father was how much of my mother's life he stole from her. And so anytime I heard of my father, what I heard about was how he derailed my mom's destiny. He derailed her life with my existence. Like, had I not come about, like my mom was very, very good at basketball. She was very, very good. And of course, at that time, the WNBA was nowhere around.
Right.
But she had an opportunity to go play overseas. And so she would have been able to leave from high school to go overseas to play basketball, but got pregnant prior to being able to do that. And I believe that there was a portion of my grandmother who believed that my mom may have been her way out.
Oh.
And so when that was pretty much taken away from my mom, she, my mom always says that when she told my grandmother that she was pregnant, my grandmother's response to her was like, "You've just bounced your last basketball," because she wasn't going to raise her child. And so my grandmother had such a disdain for my father because she felt like he had taken advantage of my mother, which, I mean, he did.
He did.
And had taken a portion of her life away. But not only did he take a portion of her life away, I believe that she felt like it may have taken a portion of her life away as well.
Her escape plan.
Yeah.
So as you continue to grow, right? You're going through high school. How was your relationships then, like with guys? Was it a healthy one? Was it fear of rejection?
Well, I was chubby. Like
it's in the book too.
Okay, I was a big girl growing up. So I believe that I worked from the mindset of not being enough. And so I overcompensated in relationships. So like I didn't have a date to prom, to my senior prom either. Although my senior prom, I was dating a guy, but he was just older than me. So I never dated like anyone that was my age per se. I always dated older gentlemen. And I always worked from the mindset subconsciously of being a overachiever, even in relationships. And not just in romantic relationships, but just in relationships, period. In friendships. I always felt like if I did not do, you would not want. So if I didn't do things for you, if I didn't buy things, if I didn't, overextend myself, that you would somehow walk away from me. And so in relationships, I always gave more and tried the love of people and not necessarily just showing up as authentically me, but the person who I always felt like I had to be the answer. I had to
Right.
give, I had to do. And so I always worked from the space of earning and not being truly desired or
For who
even
you
being
are.
earned.
Yeah. Wow. So it wasn't so in the beginning relationship, it was always, what can I do for you?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you was like the girl off Coming to America. Whatever you like.
Yeah,
Whoop,
whatever,
whoop.
baby. It was. And it was. It really was. And we fell in love in 2 days. Like, it was like,
Not you changed your last name on the papers.
baby, 2 days. Because I needed to secure this thing. You cannot be walking away from me. Because I was used to everybody walking
Walking out.
away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if we didn't secure it real quick,
Yeah.
like, then I felt like
It
you
was
was
a
gonna
fear.
leave. Yeah, it was a fear of leaving. So we needed to lock this down quick.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it was like, okay, what can I do for you? Like, I wash your clothes, you know, and so you and then you start masking that as I'm just a nurturer. Like, oh, I just believe in nurturing people. I just believe in helping people. No, you're scared of people walking away.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to nurture you. I'm trying to earn you.
So even in that process of trying to earn people, of course, I'm quite sure you lost who you were.
Oh God, yeah.
And at any point, did it get to the place where you desire more for yourself?
Sure, absolutely.
Like as a young girl, like who am I? I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it to make them happy because I don't want to be alone.
Or you feel like, who am I? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you start to get to a place that because of fear, you take on an alter ego or another personality. And then you realize in that place, even after trying to earn the love of people, I'm still empty.
Right.
Like you're satisfied because you're getting all of your needs met, but you're not meeting my needs. And sometimes it's not necessarily that maybe you wouldn't desire to meet my needs, but I don't even know what I need because I don't know who I am.
Right.
So I don't know who I am. So I can't properly teach you to love me because I'm too busy trying to earn you that I'll lose me in the process. And so, yeah, you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, Fairlen, what's important to you?
Right.
What do you need? What do you want? And then there is the place of subduing that because you feel like if I make my needs more important than your needs or equitable to your needs, will you leave me? Because now, do I even deserve to have someone meet my needs?
Right.
Or in fear of you not being able to meet my needs, will you just leave me?
Right.
So then you go with unmet expectations because you're afraid that if you express expectations, will they now desert you because that's what you're used to?
Take you back to your root of the abandonment.
It takes you back to like, as a child, I needed someone to affirm and validate me, and you weren't there. So I learned to validate myself. And in validating myself, I learned to do that with a unprocessed mindset of who I was. And so now I'm validating pieces of me that aren't even complete.
So in that process, how long did it wasn't until later years that you've really learned after forgiving your dad and possibly.
And I think that, I think forgiveness of my father came in that process.
Okay.
Because I think in the process of learning who I really was, I got to a place of understanding that there were certain pieces of my childhood, and especially the missing of my father, that was really a large protection to me. And so I think it was accepting what I did not understand that caused me to walk in forgiveness of my father, because I understood forgiveness was done by faith.
Right.
It was not being able to understand it all, but understanding I still needed to forgive because the forgiveness was really for me.
For you, right.
Like for me to move on, for me to be healed, for me to be whole, I needed to forgive what I didn't understand.
So did that happen as a teenager or later in life?
Oh, no, it happened in my big adult life.
Okay. Grown. That's what they call it, grown.
Grown. And it wasn't until I had my own child. It wasn't until I had my oldest son and life started lifing.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I had my oldest son, AJ, it was then that
You
I
was married,
began.
right?
I was married. It was then that I began to understand that parenting is sometimes, unfortunately, trial and error. And you can only parent from the knowledge of what you receive until you get knowledge on your own.
Right.
And so there were certain cycles that I began to see repeating in my life
Mm-hmm.
that were cycles from my childhood. And I understood then that my father fathered me
Mm-hmm.
to the understanding that he was fathered. And so there were certain things that were only perpetuated
Mm-hmm.
by what he knew.
Mm-hmm.
And because, for whatever reason, rather he chose not to do the work, rather he didn't have the access to, whatever those reasons were, there were cycles that only repeated because he did not have the ability or the bravery to stop those cycles.
Right.
And so it was then that I understood that some of his parenting was only from the lens of what he knew.
Yes. That's so good. And I tell people all the time, we
Yeah.
fault our parents for things, but they're doing the best of what they can do. Right.
He was doing the best that he could with what he had.
Yes.
And I'm not, and it was understanding that I wasn't giving him a get out of jail free card.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't giving him an excuse, but I had to understand that I always say there are three sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
There's your side, there's their side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth of it, right? And I had to be able to partially see things from his eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
And then understand that in order for me to move from the place of being a victim, I had to take ownership of my own healing.
Mm-hmm.
Although some of his actions broke me,
Mm-hmm.
it became my responsibility to do the work to heal me.
Yes.
He couldn't heal me.
Mm-hmm.
That was on me. And so it was taking the ownership of, okay, he didn't have the ability or the courage to stop like those generational
Mm-hmm.
things and those cycles.
Right.
Somebody has to do it because as parents, what we have to understand is what I choose not to confront.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be comfortable
Mm-hmm.
with it being the bondage for my children.
Mm-hmm.
What I become complacent in becomes my children's bondage.
Yes.
And so I had to look at my son and I had to say, am I comfortable with this being his narrative?
Mm-hmm.
And like Fairlen,
Mm-hmm.
at the young age, I didn't have the ability to fight. I didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
I wasn't skilled in the weaponry.
Right.
And so it was the responsibility of my parents to fight that battle.
Mm-hmm.
But because they did not, for whatever reason, cycles continued.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to confront Fairlen and say, am I okay with this cycle repeating itself?
Mm-hmm.
Or will I be brave enough to use the weapons that are in my hand to fight so that he doesn't have to? And as a parent, I think we all agree, as good parents anyway, I'm okay with taking the shot
Mm-hmm.
if it shields him.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly.
I can pull the arrow out and I know how to bandage myself.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't.
Right.
And so I had to be comfortable with taking those arrows out one at a time
Mm-hmm.
and bandaging myself so that he didn't have to do that.
So true healing can happen with you.
Yeah.
And he can have a healed mom.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people, hurt parents raise hurt children.
Yeah, who then reproduce.
Exactly.
Hurt
So
kids.
exactly.
Yeah.
The cycle has to stop somewhere,
Somebody
like you said.
has to.
And it takes bravery.
Yeah.
It takes courage.
Yeah.
A lot of courage to be able to deal with that and to be able to face it, and not just face it, own up to it.
Yeah.
And speak it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's hard. You can think it, but to speak it out loud,
yeah,
and say that hurt me, most people can't do that. So that takes a lot of courage, girl. Kudos to you to be able to stop that generational curse,
yeah.
right? Of the abandonment feeling, and you're not worthy, and you're not enough.
But I also understood too that I could be present and he could still feel abandoned. Because sometimes we think that presence equals like that, that feeling, but it doesn't.
Don't.
I can be there, but emotionally unavailable to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll still feel abandoned.
Right.
And so
and rejected.
and rejected. And so I didn't want to be that mom.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I say that's worse when a person is there and you feel rejected versus a person's not there. Because you can, as a kid, you can come up with different things in your mind. Right. Like, maybe this, maybe that. But you right here in my face and you can't even acknowledge me or talk to me. That's hurtful. That's deep.
That's deep.
That's deep. Mm-hmm. It's real deep.
And it creates a whole nother thought process, right? Because then you're there, but not there. Mm-hmm. And then you wonder why you have children that like are emotionally aloof, right? They're emotionally unavailable. They have a seared consciousness. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't necessarily, they can really disassociate themselves from reality. Right. Because growing up, I was disassociated.
Right. From the ones that birthed me.
Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to be that way to him. I wanted to be present. I wanted to be available. And I wanted him to know like that he had a mom that was willing to do the work.
Yes.
So that he didn't have to. Mm-hmm. And so it was really, I want to do it so that you don't have to.
Yeah. So basically in that you gave him a voice.
Yeah. Maybe too much of a one.
Hey, but better have a voice than not one at all.
Yeah.
You just learn how to tame it. That's why
yes.
My youngest daughter, I'm learning how to tame her voice.
Right.
Like this is, don't say that.
Right.
Don't say that out loud.
Please,
the old people can't handle it.
Yeah. Like, please don't. Yeah. Like there are some things, it's funny because I say that often. Like, okay, there are some voices that you can have at home.
Yes.
That probably outside of the house, we probably need to.
You can't go to Mississippi with that voice.
We need to reel that back.
Bring it back.
Like you can ask me why.
Yeah,
you can ask me why.
Ask me all the time.
You can say, Ma, like, why we got to do this? Ma, why do I have to do this?
You can even give me your suggestion on how to make it better.
But when we and Pastor Christian, please just say yes, ma'am.
Just say yes.
like.
Thank you so much for tuning in to part 1 on the Wings of Grace here with Fairlen Browning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come back because you want to hear her story, the rest of her story on the unimaginable happening to her. And she just mentioned, yes, she lost her daughter. But you want to hear the details. You want to hear how did she overcome that? How did her son overcome that? And how did they move and continue to walk into their destiny? But more than how they walk into their destiny, how do they walk in forgiveness? How do they walk in love? And how did grace abound in the midst of so much tragedy? We look forward to seeing you again. Don't forget to follow us on all your podcasts from Instagram. We're on Instagram. We're on Spotify, Apple Play. Follow us today. See you guys next week on part 2 of On the Wings of Grace.